The Lodge Ghetto was, in the very beginning, we were trying to survive. And we were hoping that it will come eventually to an end. So, but the starvation was big, and the disease was big, and it was very hard to survive in the Lodge Ghetto. My sister died with tuberculosis in the Lodge Ghetto, and they took off my father and my brother off the street in the Lodge Ghetto and never returned back, and they never told him where they're taking him, for what purposes. And the ghetto was isolated with barbed wires around, and we were sitting and waiting. The furniture, we didn't have any furniture because they were assigned to one little room in the ghetto. So at night we rolled our bedding, whatever we could bring from home. And at the daytime we rolled it up and we sat on it. And we waiting, because every 10 days we were getting a ration of a piece of bread and some marmalade, some barley. This was just enough to eat for one person and not to have enough, not just to divide it for 10 days. But we were trying hard and to survive on it. And then the Germans built factories in the ghetto. I was working in a hospital, so sometimes we kept a dead body a little longer in order to receive a slice of bread for this dead person, because it was counted. There's so many slices of bread per person. And we count the dead bodies sometime. So we had a couple slices of bread more.
The ghetto consisted of one city block. Whoever came first had a room, got a room, one room. We had a normal size room. We lived 37 people in one room. It was my family, my uncle and his wife and his family, some aunts and uncle. Together we were 37 people. Now, it wasn't any running water. The water was brought in with buckets from the pump. We didn't have any electricity. It was a little wood stove in the corner. We wanted something to cook, but it wasn't nothing what to cook. And people lived even on the street. They lived in the halls, they lived on the steps, they lived in the attics, wherever they had place. And because of the tightness and the proximity and the unsanitary conditions, they were epidemics, different infectious diseases. So, and we lived so close, so they spread very quickly. Many people died. Every day were funerals. Now, to eat, they delivered every day flour and potatoes. It wasn't enough even for one person if not to be hungry, but not to a whole family, but we had to divide crumbs to everybody. And it was nothing what to do in that ghetto, not a newspaper. Even the one wall of the ghetto faced the city square in Lubachov, but the windows from outside were boarded up that we shouldn't be able to look out what is going on. And we didn't have not a radio and no newspaper, not any news to know what is going on in the world, how the war progresses. We didn't know anything.
Food became such a precious possession that We didn't have it. And there were times she had to go stand in line to get the ration of bread that she would receive. And one time she told us she came back that she had received her bread and was just leaving when somebody that was really starving ran up to her and stole her bread. And that was all she had to feed Lala and I. I can't imagine at this stage in my life as a mother and a grandmother when children tell you they're hungry and they want to eat and you have nothing to give them. It's very hard for me to understand how she did it.
There were almost 500,000 Jewish people in the Warsaw Ghetto, and a quarter of them died of starvation.
Well, I know exactly how they felt because as we lived in Warsaw Ghetto and as it was progressively getting worse and worse, the atrocities in the streets were horrendous. I mean, you could look out the window and you would see dead bodies in the street. You would see a wagon picking up all these corpses and trying to clean up. The worst thing that I remember is that seeing people that just dropped in the street, they were dead, but because maybe they had a sock or a shoe or a pair of pants or some kind of clothing on, somebody that would be passing by and would see these articles of just a dead body, he doesn't need it any longer, and they would cover up the body with a newspaper and take whatever possession this poor soul had.
Clothing.
Anything. And to this day, I mean, the worst thing I can see is somebody putting a newspaper over themselves because it just brings back that memory. And this is what we saw, and people and children were starving.
The ghetto was like very scary. People always rushing, bombs falling in the sky. The sky would light up all of a sudden like it was just like lightning all over the sky. And people used to run. They used to run and hide wherever they could. And you just had to be prepared to run. Once the bombs started falling, you never know what was going to hit you on your head or whatever. So you had to kind of get low and hide. Mm-hmm. And we were hiding out. We were just running. We were just running from place to place with my parents, trying to find the right hiding place.
Yeah, it was our Passover holiday. And just as the last day from Passover, they came in one night, we was all sleeping. And they woke us up in the middle of the night, and they made us get up and just leave the house just like we were. In nightgowns, and they let us finally put a dress on and our shoes. And they took us to the Ghettos. And we stayed there maybe a month.
In the ghetto?
In the ghetto. With no food, with no clothes, because they didn't let us take anything with us. And then one night they came in the Ghettos, because they had surrounded a Jewish section, and they put them all in the same neighborhood. And so everybody opened the doors for the Jewish people, and whatever they had, they shared with us. And then they came one night, and they gathered everybody, and they put us on horse and buggies and took us to the train.